Go7 king of the game. I believe in you, that's what he'll say. Nice and kind, leading cobalt ice. He's a blue, cute, and deadly little guy. Seeing through the fog, old gods he's slayed. Go7, 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 Go7. Go7, 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 Go7. Go7 king of the game. I believe in you, that's what he'll say. Nice and kind, leading cobalt ice. He's a blue, cute, and deadly little guy. Seeing through the fog, old gods he's slayed. Go7, 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 Go7. Go7, 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 Go7. Go7 king of the game. I believe in you, that's what he'll say. Nice and kind, leading cobalt ice. He's a blue, cute, and deadly little guy. Seeing through the fog, old gods he's slayed. Go7, 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 Go7. Go7, 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 Go7.
Can you hear me now? Okay, I think you can hear me. Oh, that's like my mic's not in the best spot. There we go. Now I just need to make it so the penguin's actually talking. Hey, you. Hey, penguin. There's the penguin, big penguin. There, now talk. There we go. There we go. Wait. Don't worry, Shadow. I did look at the YouTube and I saw that you were the real first. I don't know why Streamlabs didn't pick up on it fast, but it's true. Oh, welcome. It's been a busy week. Those don't know, I don't know if I ever actually told people, I walk a lot. And I kind of wore through my shoes, which meant that I ended up getting blisters on both my feet. So I was walking on the blisters while waiting for new shoes. It was a lot of energy. It's my own fault. I shouldn't be cheap. I should just have multiple pairs of shoes. So if I wear through them, it isn't a problem. There's no proof you were first. No, I saw it. Okay. Let's start with that. If people really want my replay covered from by me instead of just Elegatuo, we can do that. Otherwise, I'll just continue on. Good old David. There's going to be a retro gaming expo this weekend that I'll be going to. I should really have maybe I'll do it next year. I should set up a panel there and talk about Advance Wars by web, or maybe have like a little station with Game Boy Advances, and then people can play me in Advance Wars. That would be very fitting. Maybe I'll do that next year. I'll ask Walker if it'd be fine. That's true. Little fight me booth. I don't know how much that would cost. People do panels all the time, so I'm sure it'd be fine. Okay. Hopefully I'm coming through loud and clear here. Of course, it's the worst quality mic, but it's attached to my head, so it shouldn't have that problem where I like turn away from the mic at all. Here we go. Thavidu versus Otherberry. We have a Kindle mirror. Penguins versus Yellow Comet. As we do. This is a Nightmare of Heiankyou, I think. Which is named after the player, with the player being an alt. The original player's name was Reimer, and they were a fog player that kind of started going up the ranks while I was top dog. And then they ended up making an alt to go up the ranks again. If you don't know, if you haven't ever climbed to be of high rating, there's a very different experience of playing at the highest rating and climbing to the highest rating. And climbing to the highest rating can be very enjoyable. It can be kind of constant rewards as you see the amount of like points you're gaining after every game. Reimer is still one of the best, yeah. And so it's a huge, like, I don't know if ego boost is the right. It's got a lot of positive reinforcement behind it. But when you're playing, once you've reached the highest ELO ratings you can, you have none of that. It's all negative reinforcement. Every time you lose a game, you lose a ton of points. Every time you win a game, you gain just a minuscule amount. So a lot of players will resort to making an alt so that they can kind of experience that positive reinforcement again of climbing up the ranks. It does mean that, like, you kind of give other people a worse experience because they're no longer getting to play against someone who's at that actual, like, rating. And eventually, of course, you reach that rating you were at before and you're in that same situation. And sometimes people will just make another alt because it can suck to be at a plateau like that. But I imagine that, I'm pretty sure that's why Nightmare of Heiankyou was made. Reimer is still referred to as Reimer, although I think Nightmare of Heiankyou is the higher rated account. If you ever wondered why a lot of high-rated players make alts, that's why. There's a few ways to go around it and feel less bad about yourself, because it does feel bad to be picking on people. Yeah, Nightmare is the current main account. But oftentimes people will make them into challenge accounts. Which is kind of what I did with the stream account I had, the Don't Make Me Get My Main. I'm pretty sure your game will get covered, Shadow. He became MC and that account was used for it. Oh, that's weird. So now he'll be Reimer on Discord, but Nightmare Heiankyou of Heiankyou on website. Back when I started this stream, over a year ago, 2 years ago? 2 years ago, I think. I would play my account was 25 games at a time, so the max queue. And every stream, I would take one turn on every game. And try and do it with in a very quick fashion, which for me, even when I'm trying to be fast, it tends to be pretty slow. But like, that was my example of somewhat of a challenge count. Here we got Thavidu coming out with double recon against recon tank. I do think that in this matchup in a Kindle mirror, going double recon's probably not the best, just because of how deadly Kindle tanks are against recons when you're defending these cities. So these recons, they need to do better than just hit a single infantry and then die. And getting vision this early on in the game doesn't tend to matter too much because it's just like a lot of empty space because people haven't really expanded out enough. The game is way too early. So you're either going to see a lot of empty space, or you're going to see a tank, which you have to then run away from. So, with your recon. So it kind of makes them a little silly in the super early game, unless you have a very specific plan. If you're not fighting like a Kindle or a Lash or something like that, and the recon could maybe get an attack off and survive a counterattack from a tank, then that's a little bit different. But in general, I wouldn't recommend going a double recon on a map like this. In a matchup like this, maybe. On a map like this, they can be definitely fine because recons are really fast on the shoals. But in a matchup like this, I wouldn't. We got a fast copter from Otherberry. Well, the double recon might help in this regard because it is providing more vision and spotting a copter really early and let you shut it down. Just getting an anti-air in response faster than the opponent would expect. Not quite sure what this recon is doing at this point. I guess it moved it down just a tiny bit. Single tile. Yeah. Oh, it was just checking to see if the comm tower is getting captured because Thavidu capturing this one. It's trying to set itself up to maybe interrupt that, although it wouldn't be a very great interrupt. The tank would just kill it, and then it would be a Kindle tank on a property. Recon gets to see this tank, which is nice. Okay, this recon just decided to chill here, and we're just kind of a wave of infantry coming out here from Otherberry, which is fairly typical, but it's not necessarily how you want it to play out, because there's, for instance, there's 4 infantry over here, and there's only 2 properties to be captured. So it can end up meaning that you have an inefficient capture phase. Interesting. So Thavidu decides to finish the capture on this lab. Could have sent the infantry down here to capture this property and be like, well, I have my tank to cover. If their tank hits me, then I get to kill off there, or I get a Kindle strike against that tank. Decides not to do that. In this case, there was a copter to back up this tank. So it would have been kind of a losing proposition to go for the property. It goes with the lab. This isn't a live game, so the labs don't really matter who owns. Oh no, it does matter. That's right. They've changed Kindle, so now labs will count towards the super. Over here, decides to put the recon on city. I would not do that for Otherberry. The idea here is, of course, if they attack my recon, my tank can hit them. But there's an infantry right here, and all it takes is a recon plus a tank to kill this recon on the city, and then the infantry will move onto the city and start capturing it, and then suddenly you will be unable to strike from the city anymore. We'll see if Thavidu goes for it. I definitely would, especially because you can have a backup tank go. And it doesn't look like Thavidu really wants to put the pressure on over here. It builds the copter. That can definitely help up here as well. Interesting. Okay, decides to go for this and then block with the tank. That's a similar kind of deal where it's like, well, now you can't strike from the city. I still think I prefer killing off this recon and then starting the capture here because it puts on so much pressure and denies so much vision. And you could just have a single infantry interrupt this capture and then have follow-up units deal with it. But it's fine. I mean, it still stops the capture. You could also go, of course, go recon, tank, and then infantry captures, but that's not going to work out because this recon is known about. I don't think tank is. It is now. Maybe it was. And recon plus infantry has a very good chance of clearing this, and then the tank would get distracted. You do have to get the tank on the city to stop other berry from getting an attack from it. Okay, we got one copter going down here, one copter going up here. Anti-air built by other berry. We'll see if that's where Thavidu ends up sending the copter. Kindle can kind of do the like copters counter copters thing, because when Kindle gets an attack from a city, her copter will just one-shot the other copter. And, you know, if you get to the super, you won't even have to be on the city. There's so many shoals. Kind of spot some guys. Pop goes in for the interrupt, contesting the comm tower, sends the copter down here, which will make this anti-air really sad. When having an anti-air per front, makes sense to me. Ooh. Puts the tank on the city, but it is covered by a copter and covered by a tank, so in theory, anything that attacked it could get struck. There isn't quite two tanks. If there's two tanks in range, then you'd probably be able to clear whatever on the city and then also avenge the tank. Okay, recon goes up. Up goes the infantry. Oof, puts the tank on the city. Tries the same trick. I don't know if it's going to be quite as successful this time, just because there's been more time for other berry to develop here, and I don't think you want to put the tank on the city. If it's covered by the anti-air, maybe that would be more legit. On the bright side, though, because other berry doesn't have a comm tower, the tank is going to survive. There's a 0% chance it dies. From 2 hits, it can die now because something. Ooh, but it doesn't. Wow, lives at 1. Little cluster of infantry is coming in to start fighting over this property now. That's the power of the comm tower right there. You gotta be really careful with these kind. It really sucks if you end up with a somewhat botched engagement, because as you see, other berries going for the first strike, and Thavidu is getting a lot of charge, but other berry has to end up putting themselves next to properties and the like. Here we go. This tank, okay. Fortunately, this tank and this tank both see this tank. So go tank, tank. If this tank attacked from the top, then it would be safe from this tank, and then things would not be quite so bad. This is looking rough for other berry. So this infantry does go for the capture here. It's not quite going to be enough. I mean, just recon plus infantry would be able to clear it plus infantry, but also Thavidu could get a urban blight here. So it's looking like copter is going to kill this copter. These two tanks kill this tank. Recon plus infantry kills this infantry, so the copter can copter. And then over here, it's not quite so brutal because this anti-air doesn't reach this copter. So maybe Thavidu just goes for a tank kill tank move. We'll see. And then maybe some infantry attacks. Bop, bop. Recon, infantry. Back, down goes the copter. An urban blight. Or maybe just an infantry strike has a chance of clearing this. Urban blight plus an infantry strike would definitely clear this. You might not see the urban blight. Not like a bad urban blight. Okay, just clears it. That was a 30% chance. Strikes from there. Okay, not going to urban blight. I'm a little surprised. I mean, it would have 1, 2, 3, 4 possible properties to strike from. It does leave you on properties to then get urban blighted on, but you do get the strikes first. 5. I didn't even think about that one. And this still leaves you on the property. So. Oh man, it sucks to have the anti-air over here. Like, it's just not protecting at all. Okay, so the south looking really good for Thavidu. Other berries kind of holding out strong up here. That wasn't an amazing attack at the top. I assume we're going to see Urban Blight. Blam. Got a little mech. It's going to get picked up by this transport copter, I assume. And goes that infantry. With the repairs. It's a fine repair to go for, because if you're at 1 health, then the Urban Blight's not going to knock you down below the health. And you're not going to like end up paying more repair costs. Although you'll want to keep in mind that when the Urban Blight hits you, it's going to knock you down to that 1% health. So when you repair, you're going to be at 21%. So you're going to be at a minimum possible. And that's something you're going to want to find. You are a very fragile 3 rather than like full health 3 at 30%. Ooh, very aggressive for Otherberry, but I like it because things went so poorly at the bottom here. You really gotta leverage anywhere else on the map that you can. Otherberry is up in income too by a whole property, but being down a comm tower has definitely been painful, and so was the. Now, unfortunately for Otherberry, we're fighting a Kindle mirror here, so these captures don't have to, like Thavidu doesn't have to overextend to delay these. You can just Urban Blight. Oh, the recon, so we are going to Urban Blight. You could also send the infantry. But, ooh, and the anti-air up here gets hit too. That's kind of nasty. Now it's going to be easier for a tank to kill it off. Thavidu is exerting a lot of pressure down here. I'm surprised this infantry is going up, because walking over here seems pretty juicy to go. Okay, the copter, just going to interrupt this comm tower. That is kind of a priority. I assume we're gonna have some infantry strikes over here. Maybe strike. But you even strike from here, so probably this guy's just gonna hit from the forest. If this guy ends up going down, which it won't. We might go forest strike and strike from here. Who gets the kill on the tank? That's a guaranteed kill because the Urban Blight knocked it down to the health. We did this. Okay. There was a choice there. You can either strike for this guy here, finish this guy off, so you can then have this guy go back this 9 health penguin. But then you'd be leaving infantry next to a city, and that's kind of nasty. It could still be worth it though, just because if you own this comm tower and you trade out all the infantry, then you are going to maintain control over that comm tower. Who sends the anti-air in to kill the recon? That's absolutely wild. Okay. The copter here is known about. There is a copter backing this up, but still. So in this example, I would much prefer if the infantry had gone forward and like killed this off and then injure this one, because this is just such an aggressive play. Tail lives at 1, then dies. Capture starts. Gonna block with that infantry. Ooh. That's looking pretty difficult to deal with, unless Thavidu has enough charge to go for another Urban Blight. It's possible. Otherberry with a huge vision problem here. Can't actually see the comm tower getting captured. Did have infantry in range to delay that. So Thavidu is going to have 2 towers this turn. I'm really surprised also that other berry actually attacked like this around the city. I know you don't want to lose the city, but that's clearly guarded. Okay, so Thavidu is pretty far away from getting an Urban Blight, but not like impossibly far away, because you always have like this copter versus copter strike kind of deal, which just generates so much charge. 3 health tank can also be sacrificed. It's like, you actually want to go for those sacrifices. There's actually you can go for over here. Recon's going to do some spotting. We do see that tank. The anti-air is not quite in range. Neither are either of these tanks, but I would probably just dive in here. Kill off the recon. Anti-air can kill off an infantry. Tank goes after another infantry. Does Thavidu try and get a super or an Urban Blight? Looks like not, because this recon's not trying to hit something of value. It's not like going after an anti-air getting hit back or anything like that. Charge. Thavidu also could have just the math and be like, it's just not possible. In comes the tank, kill off the recon. Are we going to do the huge dive in where like the anti-air hits an infantry, tank hits an infantry, hit infantry? No. Okay, Thavidu's playing fairly cautious. I don't think you have to when you see this much stuff surrounding a comm tower like that. You'd definitely be very aggressive on these guys. Very good news for other berry to get this comm tower though. Being 2 comm towers to 0 is bad. Okay. Still weird about that 9 health infantry not going over. That's okay. The 7 health guy will, when it finishes the capture, will heal up to 9 and then go down, I guess. With transport copter, other berry feeling some foot soldier issues. We haven't had a tech up yet. It's just a lot of tanks and battle copters, anti-airs. Ooh, Thavidu goes in for a strike, hitting the only one that's in range of this comm tower. Okay, Thavidu is or was up in income. Now they're. Wow, other berry attacks in, clears the HQ, gets a strike from the HQ. That's so aggressive, but it's like killing a tank and then getting a strike on another tank. You kind of might as well send the 7 health tank in, right? If you're going to be this aggressive, might as well finish off their tank. We'll see. Yeah, the only reason you be worried about the chip damage mattering here to clear the tank off the HQ. I guess we'd see the double copters. I think I probably would have sent the 7 health in. You think the medium tanks would get danced around? Kind of looks like people are just slamming into each other on these comm towers. I think the medium tank would get some action. No artilleries. We'll go with the infantry. That goes for the interrupt. Send the copters in. No urban blight. So it was on an HQ. Up. Extra defense. Oh. Okay, Thavidu jumps straight to bomber. The bomber does have that extra move, so as you can see, it covers a lot of this stuff. Also, not targetable by copter, so if the anti-airs can get taken out, then the bomber has to stay on all the vehicles. The berry does go for an urban blight. Does interrupt this capture for free. Okay. So the bomber's kind of happy with this situation because now it can go after this anti-air. The Thavidu Air Force isn't super happy, of course. There's one anti-air here, so it can take out like the 9 health maybe. And then the other one. The berry's so aggressive. This is like a massive overextension. Unable to get this property. Other berry's just barely been able to defend it. I think if Thavidu was a little bit more aggressive over here, it would have been got. It's going to probably get got soon. We have some really good attacks coming up this turn for Thavidu. Do we go for the super or the urban blight? There's no point in not. So if you're at full charge like this, if you're going to use a power, you should just use it. Okay, we're going to use the super. I think urban blight. Well, we'll see how this goes, but urban blight has the added advantage of like interrupting this. Oh, never mind. This is at 5, so that's not getting interrupted either way. Oh, even with high society, the copter fails the roll. Okay, the second copter comes in. Pop. 2 health tank. 2 health tank failed that with high society? High society looking bad. Okay. Bomber is going to be a huge problem. Or oh, there's no no recon over here. Wait, there's a recon right here. Okay, that would do. Definitely should have sent the recon over here to see stuff. That's okay. It just means that Thavidu misses out on a tank strike. I guess the copter can go for the tank strike. Yeah, I mean not an amazing attack, but it's still fine. Okay, the recon went for the interrupt here. That makes sense. Like it's a skill. This might be pre-buff. I don't know. You know, I think it probably is. Nowadays, Kindle would get those kills. Okay. Thavidu clears, or other berry clears out to this side. It still looks really nice. I mean, like other berries up in income, but the unit compositions are looking real iffy for other berry here. Ooh, going for a neo tank. Okay. Did other berry do like a build nothing but infantry turn? Oh, okay. Other berry did a copter triple infantry turn. Loading 19k. Jeez. At a 41k. I think I was trying to dodge an urban blight. It's going to be painful because the reinforcements are going to be delayed in the fights, and the really like building a neo tank into a bomber like back. Interrupt this capture. Now goes this copter. I assume the bomber's going after the tank. It doesn't actually reach to cover it. So unfortunate. Unless the bomber strikes from here. It would be wild. Oh no! Oh my gosh. Okay, it's fine. Oh, it's not fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the copter, if the copter moves here, it's fine. Wow, okay. It's fine. Well, this recon could have putted on over here and it would spot the bomber. As is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If it, oh my gosh, if it does it now, it will spot the bomber and not see the battlecopter, and then the anti-air will try and hit the bomber and get trapped on the battlecopter. That would be so tragic. Other berry might be desperate enough to go for it. Let's get that city. Oh, okay. Doesn't go for it. Doesn't go for it. Looks like Other Berry is completely content with trading corners. We'll see if Thavidu is actually going to be up for trading corners. Looks like Thavidu is, because we're not seeing a lot of units come back down here. The center is just so barren. There are cities to go after over here. Other Berry is like not even defending these. The only thing is a copter can interrupt this. Okay. Other Berry is going for the cities and looks like getting them. I probably would have front swapped with the bomber because you have to expect that they've brought an answer for it and sent it over here. Okay, it looks like Thavidu is now front switching with it, but really you want to do that the turn earlier. Otherwise, you might as well keep it on the front because the fighting just has begun. Okay, Other Berry having a really nice positional lead here. Just kind of got onto the properties a lot faster than Thavidu did. It's a nice Urban Blight. Going to go for a little copter ping here. Urban Blight from Thavidu is going to help protect this comm tower. Looks like we're trying to clear this infantry off. Bomber unfortunately stuck in transit here during power turns. It will get into decent range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So decent range to deal with the Neo tank. Assuming it continues on its path here. Okay, both anti-airs get hit. Copter gets the copter strike outside of the opposing copter range, so that's really nice. Infantry clears off the anti-air. Fighting is looking fine for Thavidu. Does the bomber continue? Just right here, it does indeed. This could be real nasty. If this Neo tank goes over here, hits this anti-air, and then like a tank just smacks here, the copter smacks here. Well, I guess if the copter smacks here, then Thavidu is going to have a problem because he'll be okay. So the Neo tank did do this. But if there's a full health copter sitting on the city, Thavidu doesn't currently have a good way of clearing it off. Which is not what happens. Bomber isn't seen either, so this Neo tank is super dead. And there's no anti-air down here for Other Berry. Another one built up here. In response to the copter, I guess. There goes this tank. Back, smack. Boom. Neo tank gone. So much charge for the death of the Neo tank. Assume the recon's gonna beat on in. More captures, a little join cap with a lot of pressure on that city. I think 9 health will go for the comm tower. Just more pressure. Beep, clear that guy out. And if you can take out all the infantry in the corners, then life gets a lot easier. Gonna fall back at the classic Kindle trap up, like, oh yeah, you send stuff in to interrupt my comm tower, and then I kill the stuff that you send in. Keep the recons alive. Definitely agree. Vision has been a big deal in this game. The bomber does get tagged by the Urban Blight, but still the Neo tank, so you can't be too upset. Smack on the tank here. Oof. Other Berry really can't like this kind of formation. Copter comes in for the copter first strike. Start tagging all the infantry. All of the infantry have been tagged, so they're not going to do or have like a very easy time capturing these properties back. But the units keep getting sent in. Sometimes you gotta cut your losses a little bit. I mean, being up 4K is nice, but if you're losing more than 4K, more worth of units due to trying to hold it, then it's not going to. Thavidu starting to preserve these infantry. It's such an interesting dynamic with infantry. They're so expendable at the early game, and then you need them to kind of win a game. They'll start running out as if you have to build more and more vehicles to fight vehicles. Down goes the copter. Strike, bam. Interrupted. Again, the 1 health cap. Not thrilled that the tank is here. It kind of has to be. I guess the helicopter's blocking it. Yeah, this is where Elderberry couldn't have felt good about it. I don't know what Elderberry's charge is like, but if Thavidu wanted to, could really like press this issue. You can just have this 3 health tank swing in, and then have the 9 health tank come in to finish off this 8 health. There's nothing to deal with the copter here, so I think Thavidu's being a little cautious around that part. Oh man. Well, that's rare. 1 health infantry got the counterattack kill on a tank. So we have transport copters for both players feeding into the side, so it's not gonna be too difficult for Thavidu to get the guys over here to get these captures. Continuing to dive in here is not going to work out super great for Elderberry, unfortunately. I do understand what they're going for there. When Bomber comes back, it's getting low on fuel, down to 20. Goes off the infantry, leaves the recon. I'd say it's probably fine. Send the 5 health tank to kill off this recon. Yeah, like that. Still covered by the copter. And there's no like mountains or anything to put infantry on in the middle. You do become very heavily dependent on these recons that are zipping around on the shoals. Oof, so aggressive. It has been kind of working for Elderberry. Just get like hyper aggressive, and eventually Thavidu will run out of steam on one front, and then you'll start to get more going. I don't think it's gonna work out. Time though. This reach? Oh my gosh, that reaches too. I don't think I would go for the 1 health capture here, just because it's kind of giving information. I mean, Elderberry's already pretty aware that there's infantry coming in to capture, but there's no reason to make him super aware. It's fine to like put it on a city to heal up. Not that you want to heal it up all the way to 10, but it can be used to join cap. Like the urban blight you, and then you went from 1 to 3, and then you join up with the 7, and you nice full health infantry. That's running a pretty good cap on the next turn, like that kind of thing. Okay, Thavidu does an urban blight. This is a very weird urban blight in the dark. It does hit this infantry, but like this copter came and strike from the comm tower here. Okay, I mean it did kill off this copter. It is lasting for quite a bit of time. We're on day 25. Elderberry does an urban blight right at the gate of 4K. What we do get to kill off this anti-air. Recon gets to beep on in. Unfortunately, the recons have kind of been coming in, killing infantry, and then immediately dying. which does miss out on a lot of their potential vision. Oh, it's gonna live. Thavidu is not gonna try and kill it off. Bummer. Just tank. Tank. Thanks. You get that capture. Oh, there we go. Oh, that tank survived. Okay. Thavidu's still down in income, but things are looking like amazing. 29 units to 19. They don't get to see the exact unit counts, but they can guesstimate it based on the kill to death ratio on the stats screen. And you'll definitely just kind of feel it because your opponent will have stuff like on all parts of the map, and you'll be struggling to try and meet them in all those spots. Now goes the recon, now goes the anti-air, the capture continues. There's no infantry available to interrupt this capture, so it's gonna be a vehicle. And Thavidu can have a vehicle ready to strike back on the city. And real painful. I would love to see Thavidu putting some more pressure on like these central cities at the same time. Really leverage the unit count advantage. The Urban Blight. Urban Blight does slow down games a lot because it injures the infantry, so they're slower at capturing. Easier for them to be cleared. Strikes back and forth are real quick. You save the city, but it's going to cost a whole anti-air. Ooh, there comes a medium tank from Other Berry. There was a neo tank earlier, but they got hit by the bomber. Chilling over here now. The tanks can reach the anti-air, so the bomber's going to have a pretty easy time of it. I assume we're going to have the tank strike the tank. Yeah. Up. We can't clear the way for the... I guess the bomber... No, I can't even reach from over there. I guess the bomber's just not going. It's fine. They try and go for that double comm tower situation again. It does force units to kind of get into range. This medium tank is actually unanswered down here. Which could be bad. Thavidu. This is another one of those semi blind urban blights. I don't know why Thavidu has started to do that. The urban blight makes sense here with like all the strikes, though. I don't know if every attack needed the urban blight, and you still want to be generating all that charge. Send the tank forward to kill. Is that a 1 health tank? A 1 health anti-air? Okay. Well, the medium tank does reveal itself there. Ooh, we do have our first artillery of the game. Oh, another medium. Okay. Anti-air. Pop up, takes out the copter. At this point, I don't think Thavidu can really lose. But Other Berry might not concede until the medium tank is dealt with. There's just so few infantry left for Other Berry on these fronts. It's 6. I guess it's 6 to 7. It's not so bad. You can take a strike from the city. Urban Blight will save this city. Doesn't save this one. Rest in peace, anti-air. We knew you well. Where's our bomber? There it is. He killed a neo tank and then like did nothing but fly around, which isn't ideal. Start capturing here. It's amazing that this city's been held so well for Other Berry, considering how much pressure Thavidu's managed to put in this area. Down goes the recon. They just Thavidu's definitely had an easier time with the recons actually getting their vision going, which is so important. Okay, Celeri on its way. Tank pulls off this tank. There's a copter that can try to harass it. And a bomber. Copter and a bomber. So the medium tank is probably going down here. It might live because it's a bomber, but it'll be severely hampered. The anti-air does cover the tiles that the bomber can strike from. I have a feeling the anti-air is going to get hit by a tank anyway. Because we'll have recons available for vision here for Thavidu. There's so much transport stuff. We got APC. I thought we had double transport copter. I guess not. Maybe one of them died. Bomber. Beep beep. Everything beep beep. Medium tank does die to the tank. It doesn't mean the anti-air survives, but that is okay. Ooh, look at that. The artillery placement on the city, covering the tile. It might be the immediate one for the anti-air to go after. Unfortunately, this one is still available. But depending on the vision of Otherberry, it can be a 50-50 on which one. They might go for this one just because it's planes, in which case they actually dodge the artillery shot. Otherberry just resigns. Yeah, I think that was it was down to just if the medium tank ever gets answered, then that was very back and forth. I really liked Otherberry's response to Thavidu getting that double comm tower. It's just like, I'm just gonna get hyper aggressive all in, take this comm tower. The thing that Otherberry ran into is that the aggression continued after achieving the objective and just kind of goes into an overextension fighting over the a GG. Keatonfox. Where's Meevin? Ooh, this is the wrong game. Apparently. Or do I just have the wrong... What's this one? Bolt versus Sturm, not Javier versus. It's I swear to God, I will be someone whose presence you can appreciate. Hawke. This is a Z game. So Z games, I haven't opened it yet, but Z games are not they're not necessarily up to the quality of map that League will have. If you make a map, then it gets graded by the map committee. It will be put into the potential Z game automated public game pool, and people can join those publicly made games and play it. I'm not calling your Z map bad. I'm saying they're potentially not up to the quality. They can be dubious at times. Just because they don't have as much rigor put into their screening process that the league has. I mean, I've made maps that get Z games, and I don't think they're very good maps. Like, I took out the middle of Sacks of Terror. I made a map that's just the middle of Sacks of Terror with some slight alterations, and that gets Z games played on. Okay. So this looks like a very Weege style map. Weege is the map maker that made so many of the classic fog maps that you may know and may love. And the telltale signs is going to be the bases in the corners, fighting over a large map, and oftentimes the properties are kind of checkerboarded alongside with the forests. And usually it's going to lead into like 2 main fronts and a little bit of a middle. The only thing that could make this more of a Weege style map, and how you know it's not made by Weege himself, is there isn't a lab in the center surrounded by shoals or something along those lines. You see so many of those in the Weege maps because he's Chinese, and in the Chinese community they use lab units for their competitive scene. So his maps will oftentimes have those very contested labs. Stack of Terror is goated. It's true. This is base light, yeah. This is a very large base light map, which could definitely be a problem. We've got Sturm versus Von Bolt, which is really classic in fog. Looks like I don't know if Von Bolt's got any capture advantages. Probably. There's a river, so infantry will move farther. I guess it can. Meevin here can do a city skip here to get to this property. That's something that Von Bolt won't be able to do. Ah, there we go. There we go. There's a advantage. Because it's a Z game, the ban list is just going to be the automatic tier ban is. Oftentimes, if you have league games, like Sturm might get banned because the capture phase will give him too much of an ink advantage. You're here to learn fog. Oh, look at that! Meevin's going for the city skip, the Sturm only city skip, and then we go double recons. So for a really long time, it was considered heavily in Von Bolt's advantage, this matchup. Sturm versus Von Bolt and fog. Some people might still believe that. There was definitely a reign of Go7 playing Sturm, fighting Von Bolts and winning. That I think... I don't know if that actually changed anything, but I imagine it changed a little bit. So that the matchup looks a little more, or is considered a little bit more even nowadays. But the reason why Von Bolt was considered like really good against Sturm is that the vehicle fighting is really nice if you're just kind of fighting on these neutral terrains, because Von Bolt's got plus 10 attack, plus 10 defense. Sturm has 10% more defense, and it is really nice, you know, having 10% more defense than your opponent, but he has 30% less attack. And that's a lot less attack to have for just 10% more defense. So when it's just going to be these like tank brawls on neutral terrain that can sometimes happen in fog, especially if some death balls or something start forming, or there's like fighting around forests or something, then Von Bolt is going to kind of have a field day in the sort of exchanges that he can get. But there are some nice things that Sturm gets with having, you know, another 10% defense in comparison to Von Bolt. It means that both of them have a hard time really stopping each other from going from captures, and that's really good for Von Bolt, or for Sturm. And Sturm has perfect movement on his side, which means that his indirects are super fast. So the trick is to not get stuck in those tank fights that Von Bolt's so strong with. and instead you have little tank fights that have indirects covering them that the opponent might not suspect is possible. I mean, if they've experienced fighting Sturm, they're going to know it's possible, but at least back in those early days, there'd be a lot of situations where you'd be playing Sturm and you could just get artillery into woods far faster than anyone would ever be used to, and they can end up losing the fights because of that. The artillery also, or indirects in general, have a really, really high base damage. So even though Sturm has minus 20% attack and Vomble has plus 10% defense, they still do numbers. And it's kind of the trick for Sturm to have happy times when fighting against Vomble. We'll see how much that comes into play here. We do have 2 artillery already and a copter for both. Picking up into like mega tanks is also something that you can try and do, because giving mega tanks perfect movement is really nice. The like lower attack that mega tanks have, kind of irrelevant for a lot of exchanges, and mega tanks do a really good job of magneting. This is kind of for both, but oftentimes you're not too worried about your mega tank getting stunned for a turn. But on the flip side, you can be really concerned about your mega tank taking 8 damage. This is a huge map, so I think what happened was Meevin was expecting the opponent to go for like some early APCs or something, and then that huge wave of recons would be able to find targets. In general, if you were in this kind of matchup and you wanted to do recon harassment, you would have to send your recons not down here like they kind of went. You have to send them over here, because the only way for the opponent's vehicles to travel is out this direction. They're just going to run into the recon straight away. But if you're attacking up here, then you get to attack all of those infantry across the river and won't have vehicle support for a while. That would be the place you want to rush as Sturm. I know Meevin does have a comm tower, and I'm trying to delay this one. I don't think we can potentially delay it. Oh, never mind. keatonfox getting some good blocks in there, making sure there can't be any recons zooming in out of nowhere. Because what could have happened is, like, if this tile's not blocked, then this tank goes over here, it sees the comm tower, and then the recon can reach, interrupt it. As is, that would not be the case. And we had our little artillery chilling over here to guard the recons. I was saying that like the artillery is still really good for Sturm because of how high the base damage is, but it still probably wouldn't have a great exchange if the tank attacks from a city. The extra defense, you may like knock it down to 6 maybe or something, and it repairs up to 8 and sits there for another turn and back up to 10. You'd still really want your opponent to be on less desirable terrain. I have not tried the Warside demo. Max, back poor artillery. It's knocked down to 4. keatonfox is diving in on Meevin. So, as Sturm, you tend to like to have your recons charge in, get some interrupts going, and then they get hit once, and they survive because they're Sturm and they get the extra defense. And then after that, they back up. You want to keep these guys alive because 3 health recons, 2 health recons, 1 health recons, they still give you just as much vision as a full health recon. And the real limiting factor for Sturm and his recon abuse, and why he's tier 1 in fog instead of like banned, is that the recons need vision in order to attack. The recons have 5 vision, 8 movement, so they need buddy recons to find other targets. Otherwise, they're not like their extra movement isn't going to be as useful for harassment, and that's where your injured recons come into play. You also, of course, don't want to lose them, so you don't have to keep playing. Just keep in mind you want to keep them alive. Usually you'll just chuck them into forests. Or you can try and repair them up. That's fine too. It's also okay to skip the medium tank. Or, I mean, Sturm has fine medium tanks. I often don't feel like the firepower increase that the medium tank has over the tank for Sturm is quite impactful enough. They do, of course, love the perfect movement. They have 5 movements, so every time they get through the forest, it feels really good. And they'll still, like, beat tanks, but they won't, like, dominate them. Fox getting some captures going here. Anytime Vumble's going to be able to get a nice brawl going, then things will look really... These guys are in range of a single one of these artillery. We'll see how much damage it ends up taking. Even does send the medium tank in. It doesn't get the kill on the infantry. So tragic. Oh, Bree, you got the Global League blues. I'm so sorry. I might try Warside. Might try it. Copter strike. Copter first strike 8-4. Oh, pretty good. This is... So the artillery gets to do the 4 damage, which is pretty decent. And then you have like this chain exchange. The tank still lives. The 9 health tank, of course, is pretty happy. But not going to be able to kill that tank off kind of sucks. When you have artillery against tank shot. Okay, we're going to go for another medium. See what keatonfox's response is. Looks like we just like copter artillery so far. Because the copter, the anti-air should be able to get this kill. There is a comm tower captured from Meevin. It can be something that you'll run into against Bumble. Your anti-air is unable to one-shot the copters. I think with a comm tower it's fine though. Anna. Okay, so we have the artillery holding most of this down. Another artillery shot. Tank shot. Pop. It was at 3. Still at 8 health, so looking fine. Recons gang up together to finish off this infantry. Anti-air on its way. Just keep the indirects alive. You can always have them go back and heal like we've been doing here, which can be very effective because, you know, they have some range, so they can sit here, heal up, and still potentially impact the battle. This is what I was saying about, like, the medium tanks will win against the tanks, but it's not like they're one-shotting them. Still knocks it down to 3. You can always go back and heal up. But yeah, the anti-air does get the kill. That's okay. So, like, saving up for a Neo tank can definitely be worth it. Artillery on their way. It's a little odd to see Von Bolt going for the artillery because you'd prefer to like be the one to go into the tank brawls, and because Sturm tends to have a lot of recons around and they can find their way, like they can spot the artillery very well, and it's also something that the recons can attack and have a pretty positive exchange, especially if there's a fight going on around it. What's this copter doing back here? Okay, well, I got 2 copters hanging out. There's another one, artillery shot. There's no tank over here. Might see a copter come in. Ooh, okay. As there's an artillery with fire. Covered against potential anti-air strike. I'm not quite sure why the medium tank. I guess it's moving here just so the tank can't be attacked from that tile. It's potentially getting a little bit isolated there. Go for another medium tank. Okay. Well, if the opponent doesn't end up building a suitable response, then that's fine. Like if Bolt went up to a Neo tank or something, or just build a bomber. Here it's getting a little bit isolated. It might be okay. I mean, there's one artillery in range to hit it, but I think we'll be able to clear the way. Because Sturm does have the ability to always use a normal power if they want to. Oh, never mind. Well, I guess you could still have the way clearing it. Oh no, the recon can come in, hit here, this is, and then the medium tank can get out. Something that Sturm does have over Von Bolt is the ability to use a normal power. Yeah, we do have a magnet built down here. Set up over here. There's a few differences between the powers here. Sturm has to target a unit, or it has to land, like be targeted on a unit when it comes down. It also is going to target the value, highest current value, so it's going to care about the health of the unit exactly for the amount of value it's targeting, and also it does friendly fire. Von Bolt recently has been added to do friendly fire, I believe, and it doesn't have to target on a unit, and it only cares about how much value it's dealing instead of how much value is there. So except for tiebreakers like a 6 health tank and a full health tank, they both take the same amount. They both suck up that 3 damage that's dealt in full. But like a 3 health infantry is going to take less than the max amount of damage, so it would be less incentivized to strike there in comparison to like a 6 health. But Sturm's doesn't care about that. It just cares about the current value of it rather than the damage dealt. If that, I hope that was properly explained there. So this magnet here, it would land here. Is like a little target. Up. Would land here. The black boat is worth more than the tank. We go bam, 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 bam. Okay, interesting. So, okay. So Meevin was given the opportunity to save the medium tank, decides not to. I guess doesn't know that there's an artillery with the sights on it. I would assume that there's an artillery or something coming over here to kill the unit if it's getting trapped. No meteor drop. Oftentimes I would prefer to use the normal power for Sturm because I just really like those additional stats. And most of the time, your opponent comes up with a really nice magnet anyway. So the extra damage usually matter that much. We have a nice super for Von Bolt here. It's going to mean that both medium tanks are probably going to die. This one dies, and then... Oh, okay. Artillery decides to kill that recon. I think that's a mistake. Because you can just move the artillery back a tile, and then it can just shoot the medium tank next turn. Which would be better. It's kind of like a very slow lightning strike. Oh yeah. The pre-deployed transports, they do mess with. They do mess with your targeting, like right here. Okay, so you use the super instead of the normal power, and you know, you do a little bit more damage to these copters in this tank. It's not a huge deal. Copters are probably going to die to anti-airs anyway. Oh, a key note for why I was talking about the difference between the Vombolt and the Sturm targeting for like damage dealt versus value of the target, because in Vombolt mirrors, or I guess when you're just fighting Vombolt, you can pull shenanigans off of like, I build a battleship, for instance, not on this map because there isn't a harbor, but you like build a battleship, right? And it just kind of sits out in the water and it's covering stuff and being annoying, and it will suck up 3 Vombolt supers as if it was full health. It gets knocked down to 7, and then it gets knocked down to 4, and then it gets knocked down to 1. And it can be a very surprisingly cost-effective way of magneting against Vombolt. But that does not work against Sturm, because the first meteor hits the battleship, and then its current value has now decreased and is no longer nearly as effective as a magnet. It's just something to keep in mind. Looks like the medium tank is going to survive. It might not. We do get 2 tank shots and the injured copter. Okay, we got infantry in the woods. Sure, I would have probably attacked with the tank. I mean, we do have the extra stats going on for Sturm, so they probably live. Wow, these guys just kind of chilled out around him, huh? Okay. Well, down goes this copter. Now the tank can actually escape. Oh, 5 to 8. The brawls. Okay, artillery are surviving. There are 2 front exchange going on here. Neo tank on its way. Gotta be wary about artillery, of course. They can take out your Neo tank. Usually you want your Neo tanks going onto a front that you have really nice vision control. Lots of support units, so you don't end up sending your Neo tank into an unfortunately poor exchange. Because even if it like goes forward and like one-shots a tank, you're like, yeah, I got this tank, and then 2 artillery are sitting there, and then you lose your Neo tank. Like, that is so bad. Oh yeah, the battleship stuff, it can be surprisingly effective. It's not as good in high funds, even though it's like easier to buy a battleship fighting Vombolt in high funds, just because there's more money around. But at the flip side, it's easier to build the battleship, but it's harder to build like the battleship to be a very effective magnet in high funds. You have so much value on the map. We are backing on out, I agree, for Meevin here. This map is so big and it's base light, so I'd imagine this game could last a really long time. The base light part is going to mean that we are going to run out of infantry fairly quickly. Because if you've got 23k, 25k in the bank, you're doing this. You're building 3 vehicles every single turn. And if you're doing that too much, it means you're not building more infantry, and your infantry are still dying at probably the regular rates on the front, and then there's suddenly no more infantry. And if there's no more infantry, no one can get any captures going, and the game just turns into a huge slog as vehicles run up and die against each other constantly. And that can lead to very, very long games. Ooh. There we go, Neo Tank. This was known about, right? Yeah, okay. These are known about, so we do kill this off. I think keatonfox wanted to strike in with a tank there. Recon can go for this strike. It's going to do 3. Somewhat decent. 2 artillery shots. The Neo Tank is on the city. But what Meevin can do here is just use the normal power. And then I'm pretty sure this is going to be pretty darn good. We'll see. I think it would hit here. Yeah. Ooh. Wow, okay. Well, I think Meevin should definitely have used the normal power there. It would have... Assuming it hit here, I think it would have mean the Neo Tank gets cleared. And then everything else is start falling apart. Because it didn't get used, though, I think keatonfox is actually going to be super happy. I mean, this is going to repair back up to 7. We're going to have the Vom Bolt Super. And the army over here for Meevin was like, it's not super happy about fighting a Neo Tank once the Neo Tank gets through the artillery line. There's the Ex Machina. Bam. Does hit back here rather than on the front lines. Does also block a base and a... So, I mean, it's not nothing. If it hit down here instead, though, it would have been just like completely... Okay, we are going to go for the Meteor Strike. A massive magnet. This can be a problem that people will run into, where they just make their magnet too big. Your magnet's not supposed to be a prize in itself. Ideally, it's 1 or 2, like 1 to 2 units. Something like that. Okay, attacking into the artillery there. It's looking pretty decent because these copters are going to be unanswered. So instead of having like 4 tanks, artillery, and a copter all hit, if that could just be like a mega tank or something, then it would look a lot better. keatonfox resigns, yeah. I think they're kind of still in it, but I think the magnet was too big. The fight down here still looks like it's very much ongoing, but down to just the 2 infantry, one of which is at 5 health to get any of these captures, so winning over here is not going to do great. We do have a precious 4 infantry up here, but they're very minimally supported, so they're going to get killed off. GG. We got achesst versus Tordread on Butterfly Net. Vom Bolt versus Olaf. This is Global League. Okay, this is the new tier 2. I wouldn't say that Sturm Super is much better than Von Bolt, but if your magnet is too juicy, then it's going to be really good. When in doubt, just play Andy. Yeah, this is new tier 2. Von Bolt got pushed down into it. Now you get to have Von Bolt versus Olaf. Which is fine. Olaf can definitely fight Von Bolt. I think he has an easier time of it than Sasha does. Because, I mean, Snow is so good. We'll see how they go about it. Looks like Tordread is going to go somewhat aggressive. Going for the recon. Recon first, achesst going for the transport copter first. Could potentially run straight into the recon and have a bad day. Next turn there's going to be a tank built. If this recon's got a plan, Tordread usually has pretty good recon attack. A well orchestrated recon attack can be real difficult. I don't know what this recon's plan was. I guess it's just here to try and stop this capture. Unfortunately, in this situation, the recon gets spotted. This infantry can still go for this city and be covered by a tank. Like so. And the recon doesn't see up here, so it's not going to find any targets. The transport copter just manages to get the captures for kind of free. It goes for the strike, and it's gonna die for it, which is really painful. So you gotta think about it in a few ways. So you go for an early recon, and you might be like, whatever, it's a 4K investment, but it's a little bit more than that. You also have to imagine that this recon, it could have been an infantry, right? So you kind of lose your early game infantry in order to have this recon. So you've already hit yourself in the economy just a little bit by building the recon. Your opponent builds a transport copter that doesn't eat up an infantry slot because it gets built at an airport instead of a base. So they just kind of get free economic advantage out of that, and that means that the recon has to do some pretty big harassment in order to make up that gap successfully. And then in this case, that's definitely not what happened. So it puts Tordread at an early game disadvantage, and that's just part of the risk of going for early recons like that. That guy's looking the wrong way. That's right, that's Fred. We'll get to track Fred throughout this game. Okay, so we have an early copter. We'll see if it gets anything done. It's always risky to go for early copters because a lot of people just kind of automatically build an anti-air on like turn 8. Then your early copter tries to do something and then immediately dies. Looks like we're going for a turn 9 anti-air this time. Okay. Copter just kind of moves up here. You would expect, so when you're fighting Von Bolt, kind of like with Sturm, you tend to have a fair few number of artillery because they kind of offset that disadvantage you have against Von Bolt when you're dealing with the tanks. Unless your name is fluhfie, in which case you don't really care about any stat disadvantages, and you just win every luck roll and make up for it, even when you're playing as Sonya. But for everyone else, you tend to lean heavily on direction fighting Von Bolt. Wow. That is someone that has no fear. So I oftentimes say do not lead with your copter and fog, and I definitely wouldn't do this because look at the, like, if you look at what you get if you're not immediately killed by an anti-air. You do 6 damage to an infantry. It's a sack for charge. Risk 9,000 with the jackpot being do 600 is not something I would advise. In this case, Tordread is going to get the jackpot and do 600 damage. 600 value in damage. It's not 600 damage. And strike. The copter's fine. I did another infantry. It's a little bit better in this situation because there's other vehicles around. So, I mean, it's still kind of on the front lines, but it moved away from the line. The front it was just on. Definitely advised. And the other vehicles around mean that if the anti-air comes in and kills the copter, the anti-air could die. Okay. So as Olaf here against Von Bolt, you really want to stall out the game. Tordread is kind of going for a very aggressive approach, which is not what I would recommend, because you don't want to have a brawl that ends up with you starting to lose properties. You just want the unit count to build up higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, because the more units your opponent has, the more damage your global damage deals. And that will just very much snowball as the fighting continues. Your opponent's super doesn't really scale with the number of units that like Tordread has, Olaf has. Von Bolt really wants you to have very few units so that the missile will always hit the perfect spot in the game that way, and Olaf wants there to be a ton of units, all get hit by the global damage, and then they can't move around because it's all snowy, and then Olaf can just kind of gobble them all up with positioning due to the snow. It's very interesting that Tordread's like, nah, I'm gonna try and brawl, because it kind of goes against what I would typically expect. I mean, it could work out if the brawling's like fairly even and continuous, and then the snow hits, and then the brawl just goes heavily in Tordread's favor. But right now, it's looking like the brawling's working out really nicely for achesst. We're even going to start the capture on this comm tower. You need to keep in mind that the snow is very much approaching. Break the tank in range of the... It does kill off the tank, okay. Well, the snow is definitely hitting next turn. We'll see how much it can swing this for Tordread. Obviously, rolling against Fumble is very painful. Snow does a lot though. It also like slows down all the captures. It's a Winter Fury. Pop, 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 pop. How much damage do we do? We're at 90,000. So it did about 30,000. Not the worst. Oh, fun fact for, of course, everyone. A lot of people, at least initially, will be like, why do you even check to see how much damage it did? Because they think of it as it just deals 20% of the like total unit value, but that's not true. It does 20% damage, but for a lot of units, that's going to be more than 20%, right, of their current value because they're injured. So if we look at this, for instance, these 2-3 health tanks, when they get hit for 20%, they're not losing 20% of their value. They're losing 66% of their value. And that's why they go from 3 all the way down to 1. That's why oftentimes when you're fighting against global damage, you'll join your injured units together. So if you have like, I don't know if we have a great example here. Let's say you had like a 3 health tank and a 7 health tank, and they weren't fighting. You would join those together right before the global damage hits, because you're going to have the amount of damage that you take. Instead of taking 4 damage over 2 tanks, you just take 2 damage over. Just fun facts and ways to deal with global damage. Anyway, continuing on. So the nice thing about the snow that can sometimes be hard to understand in the moment is that it's shown as it lasts 1 turn, but it kind of lasts 2 turns, right? Because it slows down all of the movement of your units now, but it's also slowing down all of the movement for your reinforcement. So the reinforcements are taking a turn extra to make it to the battlefield. There's like an extra lingering effect of the snow that can come into play for the brawls. The Jess just starts falling back, just kind of continuing these captures. Looking honestly pretty decent for having just being hit by global damage. Captures are going to get denied. This recon up here is looking pretty strong though. Oftentimes when you have really big brawls going on, a lot comes down to what can you get on the side of the map. Oftentimes you'll have these really big fights, the armies are clashing together, lots of tactics back and forth, killing off units, but nothing tends to really flip because there's so many units fighting, and instead it's who can spare a few units to go onto the other side of the map, the other sides of the map, other fronts, and try and push for some captures. That's why we have like a single recon over here, a single tank from Tordread. It's the units they're sparing from the brawl that can make a huge difference, because sure, this brawl, like nothing happens, they just fight back and forth, and then if someone's able to capture 6 properties or 5 properties on the other side of the map, that just ends the game. There's things to keep in mind when you're in these kind of brawls in the game. You want to be looking for your opportunities to win elsewhere, not necessarily to win where all of the fighting is actually happening. Who's that tank? Let's get together in a little group here. And be careful, I mean, there's still the Von Bolt super. Olaf's not the only one with a super here. They are even in income currently, and it does look like it's starting to stall out now. Olaf Super really doesn't cost that much. So it can be shocking how quickly the snow will come back after it gets used. We'll see if the chest is going to try and deny this. Looks like we are. Okay, we're diving in. Anti-air goes after the artillery to help protect the Neo-Tank. We do have an opposing Neo-Tank for Tordread. I think we're not quite going to get the chest super. And I would expect that Tordread's going to be pretty good at playing around the missile powers. For those that don't know, I might play some War Sides, we'll see. There was a period of time where Tordread would had a really difficult few games fighting Rachel, where it'd be fighting, and then all of the army would get hit by the missiles, and then Tordread would lose. So I think at this point, Tordread's gotten pretty good at adapting to that, and will play around missile powers pretty effectively. I say that now. We're about to see how effectively Tordread does play around it. Apparently this Neo-Tank's just chilling down here. Looks like it's going to be the magnet. See how it goes. We don't have a power yet from a chest. Now we do. I was trying to lean it down here. Okay, so it did hit pretty decent score, like all the reinforcements back here. That's pretty nasty. Tordread does have the supercharged. Doesn't look like there's too much overcharge going on here. Yeah, all of that got stunned. You do get the Winter Fury. Did another like 30,000 about, yeah. Okay, we get the interrupts going on here. Check on that copter. This comm tower might have a chance to go through. We'll see. We can interrupt that capture. Ooh, the tanks get the strike here too. So this is a case where a chest is able to spare more stuff on this front. And that could put Tordread in a really nasty spot. So if a chest just ends up like going even over here, but actually manages to start taking all these properties, then the game will quickly go into a chest's favor. Goes for the copter strike. Oof, oof, this is painful. So sometimes you have to let properties go. I don't know if Tordread needs to let this property go. We'll see how it plays out, but you gotta look at what are you sending forward to save the property. In this case, it's a full health copter and a full health tank. They did kill units, but they were very injured units. If you're just looking at the property value here, it's 2k a turn if it flips, and it's having to pay off 16k. So as long as you maintain, like, if you weren't able to get the property back in 8 turns, then this would be worthwhile. It's really, really bad if you like just lose it immediately afterwards. Bam. There goes that tank. Tordread's looking super dead. 2 double comm tower Von Bolt is such a nightmare to play against. Of course, the 30% firepower is really good for Von Bolt, but it's also the fact that you now have 0% extra firepower, and Von Bolt still has the extra. Yeah, Tordread just resigns. GG. I was looking pretty hopeful when the game started stalling out there, but the hyper aggression from Tordread. I think the idea was to try and catch a chest off guard, because like what kind of Olaf would send a recon so early, and if it had like foreseen the transport copter and got interrupting the stuff over there, then that might have played out a little bit differently. But it's just so expensive to build an early recon and have it die immediately. Especially if your goal is to stall out the game. Alright, CatWithYarn. Looks like we're going to get your game in. Probably going to be the last one of CatWithYarn versus Waffletrigger. What a great name. Is this a Z game? It is. Rainbows and... Huh. Definitely weeged. Well, I think it's only a little bit. Okay. Waffletrigger. Okay, I think I've seen this map. Yeah, I'm definitely a little bit slow on the backlog here. Here we go. We have Eagle versus Max. This is a non-Olaf tier 2 fog game. I think that Max feels a little bit more comfortable personally to play in fog over Eagle, but I really dislike playing Eagle and playing against Eagle in all modes. So it's probably just a personal preference. They aren't going with the tank first. We got double recon opener here from Waffletrigger. Triple recon. Well, the max recons do hit very hard, and that can be very nice for them for taking out infantry, but usually you don't go triple recon unless you have like a really good read on your opponent, like maybe they're a Sammy, or maybe they're a Grit, or you're a Sturm or something, and your recons are extra good. Against like Eagle, I wouldn't go triple recon because they're probably going to build tanks by the time, by the third recon, and then your recons don't end up doing much. In this case, you would really not want to go for early recons. This is kind of like, what are my recons doing? Would they be better if they were just infantry in this case? And the answer is yes. There's nothing to see at this stage in the game, so the recons can just be built later. You could have an earlier tank if you wanted, or you could just have more infantry and have an easier time going for your captures, or be going for more captures. And then you just build the recons later. If anyone played StarCraft 2, if you played as the Zerg in StarCraft 2, that's kind of how you want to be playing the Fog. It's the Zerg, they have the same unit, like production facility essentially for all units, just like you do. And so oftentimes it's going to be build your economy as much as you can, as fast as you can, and at the very last possible second you want to be building the defenses so that you have the maximized economy. Because early built defenses that don't end up doing anything just means you hurt your economy. Kind of the logic there. And it's definitely a way to approach the Fog advantage. Okay. We have our little recons. They went beep beep. In this case, this recon's covered by a tank, and we only have one tank for CatWithYarn over here. And this is where you can see the max recon value. Knocked it down to 4. It's really nice when you knock the infantry down to 4, because oftentimes if you knock it down to 5, they will just sit there and they'll capture again in your face. And what are they doing? They're saying, if you kill off this infantry, I am going to kill your recon next turn. That's why I'm standing here, because I want your recon to die. But since they were at 5, that means they only had the like 2 captures to finish off the city. And you're stuck in that quandary, like, do I have my recon stand here and finish off the infantry, or do I like back it off to preserve it because they've probably moved stuff into range? But if you knock them down to 4 like this, that's not a real quandary. They can sit there and capture, and you can spare your recon and have something else like an infantry save the capture later. Did you check the replay? I don't know. I don't think you knew about this tank. It's gonna be painful. Bam. Max tank. Ooh, some nice interrupts going on over here. Clear this out. We're gonna interrupt with this recon too. It would die, but it might be worth it. Okay. Aigaion does get this capture. Still up in economy, despite having some pretty big harassment. Oof. Okay, so the tank's gonna get to hit this recon, which is pretty good. Pretty good. You get to be out of the city. It's just so unfortunate that this anti-air is down here, but the copter's up here. Okay, get the interrupt over here. I kind of I would personally rotate this a little bit. Or I'd have this infantry strike from here, have this infantry strike from here, I can hit over here. I just don't like my units being farther away from my front when they're attacking, if that makes sense. Like, this guy's a lot harder to cover than if he was over here. Tank comes in, or copter comes in, hits the tank. It doesn't die, it can just kind of fall back and heal. It's first fog of war. Oh yeah, sometimes you want to hit the infantry that will capture rather than... Got the kill there. Really, CatWithYarn's getting a little bit beat up, as you would expect in the tank wars against Max with his plus 20% vehicle firepower. But still maintaining an income lead, which is good. Okay, infantry gets hit. Tank, no fear, is covered by a copter. Eagle copters are slightly better, I would say, than Max copters. They have 5% less attack, but 10% more defense. Max copters do get the first power, though. And the power giving extra, move and attack is mighty strong. Okay. Kind of similar to the game we just saw, where Olaf wanted to stall out the game, and Bumble would love to brawl it out. This is the same kind of situation. Eagle would love to stall out the game, and Max would love to brawl it out. CatWithYarn's not being nearly as aggressive as Tordread was being, though. Very much sticking mostly a cluster over here. Which is good, and at least keeping income parity. Has some possibilities of taking an income lead, although it looks like Waffletrigger is doing a really good job of winning at the top here. Copter control. Anti-air gets a copter kill. Ends a tank up here. We don't have an anti-air to help cover, although Waffletrigger doesn't know that. Now goes the recon, that's nice. Copter finishes that guy off too. That's looking really nice. There's an anti-air covering these copters against the opposing copters, and there's no tank to go after this anti-air, so not so bad. The copters could go after this tank though, and then this anti-air goes after the copters. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's looking much better than it definitely was a little while ago. Waffletrigger does have a potential super. Looks like they're not going to use it, which is fine. Sometimes you want to save it for a more opportune turn, for sure. A wasted super is oftentimes much worse than holding on to a super. You do have to, of course, keep in mind it does mean you start getting overcharged. All the charge you gain here when you're at max just goes to the void, and you get closer and closer to potentially Eagle getting the first super, which is not something that you want. Oh, speaking of Eagle getting the first super, we have a tank go in. This is a swing for charge. It's not going to be an amazing lightning strike, but it's still going to be pretty darn good because the majority of Max's army right now is copters, and they're going to be able to be picked off by these, I guess, by this anti-air, as well as all the infantry gets back. Ooh, is the anti-air not going to be able to reach? That'd be so... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess the anti-air can like clear the way for the copter to reach, or he might just have the copter kill this infantry, this copter, and the anti-air kill this anti-air off. That's also fine. Okay, we're gonna go after the copter. I mean, it's a pretty good swing. Okay. So Eagle did get the first super, which is like Max's worst nightmare. He'll have dominance cap. We have the Max Blast after getting hit by the Eagle super. It does mean that this copter can get involved, but there's nothing to deal with this anti-air right now. Yeah. There's a tank on like over here, so that's something. Still continuing the mass copter production. Things are looking pretty good here for Shadow. I really like that there wasn't like a big overextension over here. And then if this artillery can cover this anti-air, that would be even better. Because I mean, the tank coming in to hit it is really, yeah, there we go. Really clear. Ideally, the artillery is covered against the copter too, but this is still looking pretty nice. Oh no! Waffletrigger, I think, times out there, or just ended the turn after building a single or moving a single infantry. And this gives CatWithYarn an unofficial lightning strike. It's a lightning strike, but it works for your infantry too, and it doesn't stop you from getting charged at the same time. Imagine Waffletrigger just resigns here. Looks like they just timed out. The timeout rules is if you run out of time on your turn without moving anything, then you just concede. It was an income strike, yeah. A GG. Getting the lightning strike first, so rare. a very nice, really nice. Oops. Where is it? This tank strike, it gets you just enough charge. Always gotta be looking out for potential attacks like that. Anyway, I hope everyone enjoyed. Here is your apple for the day. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.
It's Go7, king of the penguins. Of all the penguins, he is king. It's Go7, king of the penguins. Being king of the penguins, that